Alright, I'm just giving you a quick tour of my office and the setup. Everyone's curious about how I do the green screen technology, and it really isn't all that fancy. As you can see, I've got a couple of green screens on the wall, and I'll put the camera down here and just show you a little bit more about that. Okay, so here's my green screens, and again, these are just, they actually came with the software that I purchased, and I will show you. Here is the latest version of Pinnacle Studios. It's Pinnacle Studios 11. That's the software that I use. It's by no means the only type of software that does this. This is more the entry-level software. Adobe Premiere Elements would be another entry-level video editing suite that allows you to do green screen technology and chroma keying, as it's also called. Just the one that I prefer, so I'm not advocating this as being the greatest software in the world. I've had my issues with it, but I'm comfortable with it, and so that's why I've used it. When you purchase those, they come with, and I actually have another piece of software. Maybe so, let's see if I can find it here on my shelf. Here's the other one that I use. This one's kind of a nice, this is a more expensive one. It's called Visual Communicator 2, and it's really designed to do more kind of news broadcast type things where you're sitting at a desk and you've got the images coming over your shoulder. And I did that a little bit in here, but I wanted to do a little more. That's why I used the other software. But this is another one that that does chroma keying. And these, let me just move the camera over here. Again, you can see, I don't know, this is sort of like a jersey t-shirt type of material. This one that came with Visual Communicator is more of a plastic one. And I don't like it because it's got these ridges in it. This ends up being a lot smoother. And that's the key to using green screen technologies. Is you can purchase this. Any type of green material will work for you to do this. This is just the one that came with it. And the key to doing a good green screen is you need to have a very flat surface. And you can see even here, there's some wrinkly things in here. So if I was to really get precise, I'd want to make sure that's perfectly smooth. The second thing is I don't have great lighting in here. I have, fluorescent lights, which aren't very good. I have some natural light coming out of there, and I've got it closed just because it would probably overexpose to have too much light in here. But I certainly don't consider myself an expert in using green screen technology, and I know that to do it properly, I'd actually have to do some what's called key lighting, is where you have three-point lighting. I haven't got into that yet. It's just one of those things that I realize in order to do more effective chroma keying, I need that. You'll notice, for example, in my video, that quite often the edges around my clothing and extremities are slightly blurred, and there's some settings in there that you can control, but being that I didn't have exactly perfectly good lighting, and didn't have my screen nice and flat, I wasn't able to do it as precise as I would like to. But again, I don't consider myself an expert videographer by any means. I'm just someone who enjoys it, someone who I think tries to use it effectively. And so I'll pause the video, and then I'll go in and show you some. I'll give you some screenshots as to exactly maybe the more technical side of what it looks like of how to pull off a green screen, and then I'll come back and just wrap up this little behind the scenes look. Okay, so we'll do a little demonstration of how we actually do the chroma keying. What you can see here is I've got my asset window up here with all my videos and my timeline on the bottom and a preview screen on the right. Now the reason it looks kind of funny here is because it's set at a fairly small resolution in order for me to do the screen capturing. Normally it looks a lot better than this. Anyways, I'll just grab this one clip here and I'll drop it down. Instead of putting it on the top video tool, I'm going to drag it down here, and you can see it sort of goes on a second video track. And this is the overlay track, and it's used for chroma keying or picture-in-picture. In this case I want to use picture-in-picture. So what I'm going to do is choose a background that I want behind it. That background could be live video, it could be an image, it could be a plain background. Let's take and put a plain background behind there again. So I'm going to go to my photos here. So I'll just take this little title I made for another presentation, drag it there, and then just
match it up there. Okay, so nothing at this point. You can see on the window over here, nothing's happened. So what I'll do is I'll highlight this window to do some editing to it. Click on this little video toolbox here, and I have a number of things I can do in terms of editing or adding effects to my video. In this case, I want to click this one here, which is the overlay track. In the overlay track, as I said before, I can either do a picture-in-picture or chroma key. In this case, I want to do a chroma key. So chroma key is highlighted. I simply check this box that says enable chroma keying, and voila, you've got a different background. So you can see here in my key channel here, the black area represents everything that has been extracted. Excuse me. And you can see in my image here, there's a few sort of shaded areas. So if I play with this, you can see those, and you can see what's happening on the right-hand side. I'm becoming more and more transparent. So you can do some really cool things if you want to do some ghost things or something of that nature. You also have this ability here to play with that a little bit to make, you can see by just dragging it this way, the tolerance gets a little bit better, but then you can start to see some green spill around there. So you sort of have to just play with that a little bit and determine, usually it's on the total minimum saturation. And then softness here is where you can kind of tweak that a bit to get it to be what you want and so forth. So you just sort of play with those numbers. So that's it. Again, really, really simple. And you can see under the presets here, you could actually use, if you had a blue screen, you could use it as well. So if you have the color blue, you could, for your screen, you can do the same thing.
Okay, I'm back. Actually, I'm not back. I stood right here. I just said pause, and I paused the video. Anyways, you don't need to know that. But I just want to caution you when it comes to using things like this, and I did mention it in my keynote, is that you know, oftentimes it's really cool. I mean, it's just wonderful to be able to, you know, stand here and oh, also to notice there's this white part up here, and I'll just put something behind here right now and see how it's braked on. So I have to frame the camera, so I'll just take the camera here and frame it so that there aren't any. And actually, if you go and look back at the very first part of the keynote, you'll see in the top left-hand corner of the screen, you will see some, I didn't quite have it framed correctly, so I reset it and zoomed in so the entire screen is filled with the green screen. And then it's just a matter of extracting that color out. And if you look on the internet, you'll get some tutorials on you know exactly what you're doing here, and you're sort of making, you know, things with alpha channels and the technical terms. How I did the split was I simply shot myself, making sure I was on this side, and then for my other character, I just made sure I was on this side, and then with 2 tracks, I was able to put that in. I'll just show you how I did that.
So what I did there is I finished that video. I just took that one and then I rendered it out, and now I'll show you how I brought in that second video and did some resizing. Alright, so what I've done here is I've rendered it out, that separate video, and you can see all I used was, instead of using that background that I showed you, I just used a white background. And so now I can take this over here, and I'm going to put this, I'll put this in my main track, and now go back up to my original video here and bring in myself, let's see, here. Alright, so what I have to do now is, of course, make this, key it out so that this will show through. So again, I click there, click on my toolbox, click on my chroma key tab, enable it, chroma keying. And now, immediately, you see my double in there. Of course, as I said before, I had to be careful that I stayed on the side, and this wasn't the clip I used. As you can see, I'm leaning over here. But I could shrink myself down. Let me show you how I would do that. In this same window here, I can click here. I could do it to either video, but let's just do it with myself on the right here. Click on the picture-in-picture tube and drop myself down here. I can crop out sort of the extra area there. Now, the issue then is if my hand moves on this side, you won't see it, and so I had to sort of be careful, and I think there's even one spot where you see my hand reaching through and it grabs nothing. But I'll just do that for now, and then again I'll scale it. I'll scale myself down. So now you see I'm a little tiny person. This is really how they do movies like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or anytime they've done that. I can make myself really, really tiny in the corner there. And so you can see all the fun you can have, and I can position myself here so I'm right beside my head there. So this is where you could have the little person, your conscience or whatever, talking inside of your head, and do those kinds of things. And so that's really as simple as it gets. That's how you do chroma keying. And I won't go into all the other. Again, there are some more specifics you do, but that's just the basic of how you do chroma keying.
Well, anyways, that's just a quick behind-the-scenes look as to how you do green screen technology. For the purposes of the flat classroom project, I do see some really powerful uses of green screen because you're collaborating with someone around the world. Wouldn't it be interesting if the two of you could actually be on screen at the same time, even though you're in different parts of the world? Another thing that I think is an important part of it. Some people say, well, they don't want to hear talking heads, and I've seen presentations where they'll remove themselves from the video, and then all you'll have is images up here. And while that's that's one version of it, to have yourself positioned in the corner off to the side, to me it makes the presentation just a little bit more personal, that I can see the person I'm talking to. Because after all, when I go to a presentation, I want to see the person. I don't just want to see their visuals, because they're the ones that are communicating, telling the story, and I think there's value in that. But again, it's like any other feature, any other tool. It can be overused, and it can be used to a point of distraction. And so you'll notice that there's a good majority of my presentation where all I did is just turn the screen into a white background, because I just felt like I didn't want to constantly stimulate with images. And that just a style that I use. And so you're going to have to make decisions again as to whether or not it's adding to your movie, your presentation, or it's sort of a distraction. And it's a fine line. And I know when you're exploring it, you're right into it, and it's hard for you to do that. So again, that's why I ask somebody else what this, does this enhance? And again, watch their reaction. If it's like, wow, this is so cool. Cool is good, but it just becomes bells and whistles, and it sort of loses its impact. So you have to be kind of critical in it. Anyways, I hope that gives you some insights as to how I use the green screen technology. And just once again, I am not an expert. I'm not there are more and more powerful tools that I know of that I would like to explore and be able to create even more compelling video. So the entry-level software that I use, the Pinnacle Studio, for example, allows me to sort of explore some of those things, but I know that I've already reached sort of limitations and things I want to do. For example, I can only do 2 tracks. I couldn't have like 6 different videos going on here, which there may be occasion where that might be interesting. And I often say to most teachers that for 90% of the video work that you want to do, Windows Movie Maker and iMovie are great. They can do what we want them to do. And so I know that some of you are thinking, boy, it'd be nice to be able to do such and such. So maybe convince your teachers to go out and spend $100, or their school to spend $100 and purchase a copy of either, again, I'd say either Adobe Premiere Elements or Pinnacle Studio if you're using a PC. I think with Mac, you pretty well have to go with Final Cut. But Final Cut Express, I believe, is more of an entry-level software that I believe will do green screen technology. So, anyways, good luck with your projects. Again, thanks for letting me be a part of it and learning with you. And I will, if there's more ways I can help out, I'll do that. I enjoy it. Thanks.